Rodney, what did you do?
I was doing homework and then I was like, let's do my math. And I was like, I'm kind of
Okay.
I'm gonna write on my
So you guys remember how to do this?
Yes.
Not really.
You should have two answers. You
Negative.
do the tangent inverse.
that's right.
Yeah.
Has to be
What assignment
radius.
would this be, like the sixth one?
Huh?
I got an answer, Josh.
This would be like assignment 1 for the chapter.
No, what is
Bethany?
this?
Oh.
What?
Here's
What
the
is
actually
that?
back.
Test review.
What are we rounding to?
What's a long test?
Tenths? I'm rounding the tenths place.
Yeah, around, let's see, they said hundredths place.
Where's 1 and 2?
That was on Friday.
Why are we starting with 3?
What is 1 and 2?
So we did 1 and 2 on Friday.
Was I on here Friday? We did like 2 through 10.
We did a few of those, but we also did 1 and 2 on this.
Oh.
Is there any like something really important that I missed that you just want to say before?
That you were Jackson.
I
Just
mean,
kidding. This is like.
you missed a lot, so I don't know.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
So
Did you guys get tangent inverse of -2 already?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I did.
Negative 60.
What class is this?
-63.
That is
No.
not what I got.
Okay, so we're supposed to be doing radians.
I got a different answer.
What'd you get?
I got -1.11. And then, so the reference angle for that, which is where we can.
The reference angle is going to be 1.11.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the other angle. I didn't mean to say reference angle. So the other angle will be 2.03.
All right. So -1.11 is not between 0 and 6.28. It's negative. So what we have to do is, this is a 4th quadrant angle. So we have to turn it into a positive 4th quadrant
2
angle.
pi minus.
So we have to do 6.28, that's 2 pi, minus 1.11, we get 5.17. That is a 4th quadrant angle.
Oh, okay.
1.11 is basically going to be our reference angle. What other quadrant is tangent negative in?
Number 2.
Is it the second quadrant?
Second quadrant.
Good job, Jack.
So on quadrant 2, you basically do, instead of 180 minus the reference angle, we're going to have to do 3.14 minus the reference angle. So 3.14 minus 1.11 is 1.03, or 2.03.
Yeah, that's what I got. You know what? I actually understand the math. I'm very proud of myself. I don't need you to.
No, that was the other lesson.
Mhm.
Wait.
It's all the same lesson, isn't it?
No, it's not. This is like review.
This is a chapter review.
He eventually got it, it just took him a while.
Okay.
It wasn't the first day, it was the second day. Okay,
That's
anyway.
a 2.03, or what is that weird thing mark above 30?
That's a comma.
Oh, okay.
Alright, secant is not on the calculator, so what do we do?
That's cosine.
The opposite of secant, the reciprocal of secant is cosine. So we're going to have to do cosine inverse, and then if you flip this upside down, you got to flip this upside down.
Yep.
Of 1 over 1.5.
I got an answer.
What?
It is 0.84.
0.84. That would also, that's a first quadrant angle. That would also be a reference angle. So that's one of our answers since it's in the first quadrant. Oh, positive. Where else is cosine positive at?
In the fourth quadrant.
In the 4th quadrant. How do I turn this into a 4th quadrant angle?
You subtract 6.28,
6.28 minus this will give the 4th quadrant angle.
which is.
This is 0.84 right here. So this would be 6.28 minus 0.84.
Which is 5.4.
5.44.
Understand?
No.
weren't you?
No.
Beginning
Yeah,
of
I
the
just
chapter?
don't remember
You
it.
don't remember?
Oh, you were here? No, you weren't.
Yeah, I was here.
She was
for
here at the
Monday,
beginning.
on Thursday, and then on a Friday. And then
Oh,
on
is that when we
Monday.
did this?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. Almost, not quite.
Because we were on Friday and then Monday we were.
Okay,
See?
number 5, we're supposed to state the amplitude, the period, and then graph the function. Amplitude, period, and graph the function. Were you here for this, Rachel?
I don't remember any of this.
You don't
so-
remember any graphing?
Yeah, I mean, like I have like a very, very vague,
Okay, so you're here like
because
on
it's like,
the first
I,
day maybe.
yeah, the one is like 2 spaces at this.
Okay, so what is the amplitude going to be?
The first one?
3. That means it's gonna go up and down 3, basically.
Yep.
Okay, what is the normal period for a sine or cosine function?
It goes in by half pi increments, doesn't it?
2 pi is the normal period.
Oh, okay.
It'll be just pi.
So, right, so you do 2 pi divided by this number, and that tells you what our period is going to be, pi.
Pi.
Okay, so the way that I always did this on the graphs is I split it up into fourths. So the fourth one, I basically always put the period over there. So I'll call that pi. You could say this is pi over 4, pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, like a fourth, a half, 3/4. But you don't have to label it, it's okay. And that'll be negative pi, and this will just be 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh, the period, I never wrote it over here. So where does sine start at normally?
0.
In the middle, going up. So I should have drawn this more spread out.
You should have?
Well, yeah, because it's got to, I'm starting here and I'm going up and I've got to go all the way up to 3, so it's going to be really steep. So I'm just going to put dots where I'm going to go. Step 1, it should be up at the top. Step 2, it should be back down in the middle. Step 3, it should be at the bottom. And step 4, it should be back up to the middle. So that's what it's going to look like.
We've had draft paper for this.
Well, you will on the
Well,
test,
technically-
but I'm not going to graph it. But I'm not going to pass it out. Sorry, take too long. So on the back side, this would be the bottom, middle, top, middle.
No, I messed up. My graphing. My graph is incorrect. How will I plot how much money I have?
Oh no. My graph.
How will Brady know what the price of Shiba is if I mess up the graph?
Down.
Down.
I think we need to burn this lesson too.
Yeah, you didn't like the graphing one after that.
Personally,
Was that the day?
Or the one after that. Or the one after.
personally, I think.
Or before.
I don't remember why, like, I hated the graphic one so much, because like, right now, I'm kind of
It
digging
makes sense.
See, you wanna know something hilarious?
Well, the second time you see
Like
something,
fires.
it's usually easier than the
You know,
first
I want
time you
them
see it.
right there
The
next to
funniest
pro
thing
candy
is that
sauce.
growing up, my favorite subject was math.
Yeah,
And when I
Josh,
That
hit
is hilarious.
like
Josh,
geometry,
and it got hard.
I don't
Hey.
know why.
I just
I don't know
couldn't
why.
comprehend geometry.
Yeah.
And then algebra 2 was okay, like that was fine.
You
Analysis.
said growing up, my favorite subject was
Okay.
math, and that's so
But
weird.
if I was
But I didn't.
No, I literally was, like I loved math.
I hated math, but it was because I had bad teachers.
Yeah, but like, what keeps
Up until I got into middle school, and I actually had good
So I'm
teachers.
trying
Cool.
so hard
You're
to
cool.
understand it.
Matthew.
Because I don't hate math.
Heated off of coal.
Ha. Speak for yourself.
I just
I'm just
don't
kidding.
Well, yeah, when something is
Yeah, Celine.
hard to the point of
Read, bro.
frustration, you're gonna.
This is probably why. If
Yeah,
we
this-
had to graph this,
this was the same thing, yeah, same.
Yeah, what do they?
Okay. What is the amplitude for this graph? New.
Oh,
Okay, by the way, usually the way we wrote these, we put the -1 on this side, right? So the book, for some reason, likes to put it right
But
there.
you wouldn't do that to us, would you?
Yeah, I could basically copy this off the test, I just changed the numbers. So the amplitude is 2.
B is 1/3.
Okay, B is 1/3, but B, that's not a question.
Research come up.
The question is, what's the period?
2 pi divided by 1/3.
Yes, it's 2 pi divided by 1/3.
Okay.
And that equals 6 pi.
Oh, that's 6 pi.
That's the worst thing. I didn't even get it.
Mr. Jordan, Rachel stole my eraser.
I did not.
Okay, now, they didn't ask, they didn't ask for it, but what does this the negative 1 right here do?
Go right, way up,
Wait,
down.
It's like a -1 out here, what does that do?
That was
Down 1. Yes, everything shifts down 1. Unless it's directly on the x, like in parentheses, it's not gonna move left or right. This is a down 1. So, on our graph, the middle, the horizontal middle, is at x equals -1. And from there, it's gonna go up 2 and down 2. So basically, I'm just gonna put this in here to help me out. That's the middle, and this is the bottom, and this is the top. Okay, actually I should. Alright, now, when I do my horizontal axis, the period is 6 pi, so I'm just gonna say the fourth mark is 6 pi.
Why not make a third mark 6 pi?
Because it's easier if you graph them in quarters. Because it goes middle, top, middle, bottom, middle, top, middle, bottom. That's how it, that's the pattern, it's going up and down. Middle, top, middle, bottom, middle, okay. Anyways, so this would be -6 pi. And this is just 1, 2, and 3, and -3, and all that. Okay, cosine, where does cosine start at?
the top.
The top, starts at the top. So I'm gonna start right here. That's the top. And the middle, so after 1/4 of my route, I should be in the middle, which is right here at -1. And then after another quarter, I'll be at the bottom. And then after another quarter, I'll be back in the middle. And then after another quarter, I'll be at the top.
That is pretty.
And then the left side is symmetrical with the right side on this one.
Did you invent this?
Yes, I made it up.
Wow.
You have a pretty big brain.
Like,
This is weird.
you're kidding, right?
Go back and you did not.
Have you
mention
ever-
that I had a problem.
Have you ever known Mr. Jordan to kid about these kind of things?
This
Mr.
is
Jordan
serious,
is actually not a kid.
this is serious business.
It's all fun and games until someone gets hurt while mathing. Have you ever been hurt by mathing, Mr.
You
Jordan?
need to wear proper safety equipment.
Like whenever you math,
Especially when you jet ski.
No, especially whenever you wrestle a bear in Colorado.
No, see, that's the common misconception, is because everybody thinks that Colorado is where all the bear wrestling is. It's actually not, because that's primarily black bears.
Does it have to be like
Nobody knows where the
movie
men
or
wrestle
can it be like
bears,
sharp?
right? Black
Jackson,
bears are strictly
Like, is that an
women's
actual-
I
sport.
hate to say
Like
it,
whenever
but
you're doing
nobody.
the hills
Huh?
thing?
I
No,
did.
it should be,
I did.
it should be moved.
I care.
There are people that wrestle bears.
But does it like matter
She said
now?
nobody
Ooh.
cares.
Like, will it change the problem?
Huh?
'Cause
Maybe
I've
will.
never done it this week, cause I can't never figure.
Just-
Hold up.
No one just wants to talk about
I gotta look
bears.
at it, hold on.
In real life, it would be IRL.
Uh,
All right.
They do less
So,
than Russian, right?
On this one, I'm gonna do a graph, and you guys are supposed to write the.
Did you know it's illegal to
Shh.
communicate?
You're supposed to write the function out.
For
So let's do one sine and one cosine. How about that?
those charges.
I don't think that can use
You got it
the
off the first, second, and third degree negatives.
There's no iron in it.
You're taking stuff away.
Why did they have like?
But then if it's a negative and it's a
That's,
degree,
I think that's
isn't that square root?
Let's do.
It's like the diamond thing,
No,
like the
it's a
hourglass.
circle.
I know.
It's on the
I-
bottom.
That's why I think it's dumb.
But then you can't have a
Because
square root
Pietro's
on the
thing is
bottom.
Pietro doesn't have symbol.
Then you gotta
He's
multiply
putting
again.
that in the
Right, so.
And then it's like second degree.
And the
Then you get right
combination
triangle.
Or two of two, which is an equilateral triangle.
I didn't make that high enough.
So the punishment for second degree
Okay,
murder is.
write a function to describe the graph.
Okay, well, the amplitude is 2.
Wait, can you not say it out loud?
Shh.
It's sine.
Yeah, don't say it out loud.
Actually, don't say it.
Let people do
Why
it.
is Josh?
We probably should do a cosine one. I shouldn't probably say that out loud either.
Oh, wait.
That's when you
Yeah, I
don't
think
say it
Trig
out
was
loud.
close,
You're
right?
like, "You're fine, dude." Just confess that.
Guys,
That wasn't gonna put them to those.
let's do.
Can we send that one for travel?
That would be pretty fire.
Could we watch it?
It's a song for chapel.
Dude, you could, that would get
Not
nitty. Wait, Pastor John said he could choose, we could choose our own music for the Carver testimonies. We could use.
Back in time.
Okay, I was gonna say that was.
I was talking about.
Guys, stop talking. There we go.
We just have that shit on repeat. What do you define the period EU4?
It's 2 pi over 4 pi, so then pi over 2.
What do you call someone who digs holes?
No, Rebecca.
Okay. You guys get 7?
Potentially.
Okay, what's the amplitude?
2.
So it's y equals 2 sine, and then what's the period?
2x.
It's 4 pi.
Yeah.
So it's basically 4 pi, sorry, 2 pi. Remember how earlier we were like 2 pi over b equals a period? But these are interchangeable, so 2 pi over the period also equals b. So 2 pi over 4 pi will give us the b value,
We should have
1/2.
which is 1/2.
1 over 2.
So 1/2 should go right there.
Just you got 2?
Okay,
Okay.
number 8.
I have several questions.
What's different about number 8?
Well, the
It
graph isn't
only had a
symmetrical.
different
It's
period.
cosine,
That's what I said.
and what else?
The period is a little bit sus.
The period is just power.
The middle was like up.
Because it's going to be 2 power
Right.
4.
So
What is
It'll
it?
be like
Yeah.
plus.
That literally
It goes up to 3 and down to -1.
power.
So,
we got moved up. So the middle did.
So it's plus 1.
so there's a +1 on that. So what's the amplitude?
2
2 still.
cosine
Okay, what's the period?
pi over 2
4.
Pi.
So 2 pi over the period should equal the b value.
Oh, that's
So 2 over 4,
1/2 pi.
1/2 pi or pi over 2.
okay.
And then because the graph has moved up 1,
Plus 1.
Wait, okay.
You know what, that's classy.
Why is it 2 cosine?
Classy.
2 is the amplitude because it goes up 2 and down 2 from the middle.
Oh, okay,
The
yeah.
amplitude is also half of the height. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 is the height. So it's divided by 2.
It's gonna be drunk.
How do we decide what period?
The period is how long until it starts repeating itself. That is 4.
He's gonna drill.
So the period is, we didn't write the period in here, but we used it to figure out what the b value is supposed to be. 2 pi divided by that should be that.
Okay, if that one was 4, will it always, like, you know, up top it was 4 pi?
Say again.
Up top on 7 it was like 4 pi.
Yeah.
Will it always have that listed, or will it like,
No, we figured that out ourselves.
okay.
Like, right here it's starting to do what it was doing at the beginning. So it's a 4 pi period.
Okay, I was just wondering like why on 7 it was 4 pi and on 8 it's just.
This is a 4 pi, that's just a 4.
Alright.
So,
What is, sorry to interrupt you, but, what was the thing where it's like from that point to
the period?
the, yeah, maybe, I don't know, like where you subtracted.
Oh. So sometimes you couldn't, like the period didn't finish from here to here, it was like from here to here. Is that what you're talking about? So we had to count like all the way over.
Okay, so that,
Or maybe it's like from here to here instead of here to here. So you just have to figure out how far it is from one. Like we did a few of those on homework. Like if it didn't repeat itself until like, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like that. Well, that would be it. And if this was negative 4 pi or whatever, that would be an 8 pi period.
and then,
Because it goes from negative 4 to 4. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, but I'm still confused over that.
Okay, well, the period is how long until it repeats itself.
Yeah,
So if it goes from here to here, how far is it from negative 4 pi to 4 pi? It's kind of like 4 pi plus 4 pi, so 8 pi.
and then that's weird.
Yeah, 8 pi period. I don't think I put one there quite that hard. Okay, number, what number are we on? 9?
On number 9.
Number 9. Okay, I've got to put my book.
Now that's fun stuck in my head.
Which one?
All right.
Better than, I got a.
There-
The juggle song.
Okay, there are two, there are two trig identity, well, maybe we'll call it 3. Trig identities that I expect you to have memorized. What's one of them?
Sine squared plus cosine squared equals
Equals 1.
Equals 1.
1.
Okay, so a lot of times though, on these problems, it looked like 1 minus cosine squared, right? Or 1
Yes.
minus sine squared. So, but if you know this, you should be able to figure that out.
The other one is tangent equals sine over cosine.
Or tangent squared equals sine squared.
Yeah, tangent squared would equal sine over cosine. So, but a lot of times they had cotangent. What did cotangent? Cosine over sine. Okay,
I don't remember the last one.
That was it, I said 2.
I said, well, 2 or 3. So, also I didn't mention it because we were supposed to know it last chapter, but you do need to know the reciprocals also.
See,
Like
that's where I got
secant is 1 over cosine, or cosine is 1 over secant, or something like that.
That's where I draw the line, man.
And really, I think what gave us a lot of trouble, besides like figuring out when to use these things, which you kind of have to make it up as you go, is like adding fractions and multiplying fractions mixed up. We probably should have reviewed that more at the
But
beginning.
we did.
but we didn't. I just jumped in and started doing it.
Did I take a picture?
Yeah.
No.
So is that only
Wait,
one
She's
sheet, or
right
is it-
in.
Is the test tomorrow then?
Yes, test is tomorrow.
So that's all the stuff we have to really get
Yeah, and we gotta use it, of course. I'm trying to, the reason I grabbed my book.
So pretty much like memorize is the first, because the third one's just. Yeah.
Well, yeah, not everybody would necessarily know that.
Do you guys like painting in class? Becky, I hate you.
I hate you. I don't get it.
So I said it's also too far out of the reach for you.
Okay, let's try. So hard to make these. Oh, I know what I can do.
That is retarded.
Shh. Stop.
I'm really trying to warn you.
Rachel, that wasn't very nice. It's actually just a
Rachel,
small left to right.
You got Captain America pre-ordered.
Yeah, and
All right, let's try this one. This is number 9, is that right?
Yes.
On what page?
It's not on the page.
Rachel, your Captain America's
I
it's like black
it
and
is cooler than
blue.
yours, except
it's the stealth shield from Winter Soldier that he has. for-
Okay, why don't you guys give that one a shot?
You are a real page.
yeah.
I'm not from this country.
In India.
These are the ones I don't even know what.
His name is Captain India.
Back in India, I could go to sleep.
Okay, guys, stop talking. We can get through this. We don't have time for that. 10 cosecant plus cotangent.
I wish you didn't have to make up homework that you missed. That would be so nice.
You could just skip school all the time.
Unless you're Brady. The only person.
I don't think Brady's legally gonna pass
Wait, really?
11th grade.
I didn't know that this school even did that.
Well, it's in the handbook, but
Well, you have to go to a certain number of days.
never been enforced. Okay, I probably didn't give you enough time. I'll give you another minute for 9.
I don't even know what to start.
You take out.
Okay, hold on, wait. If you're stuck, what did I say is a good rule of thumb generally?
Make it all sign.
Turn it on to sine and cosine. Start there.
I got there.
What if you don't know what that means? Sorry, I'll stop you.
Do you know what tangent
Well,
is
I
equal
never
to?
knew this
Where you gone for this lesson?
What do you want?
I also just wrote it on the board like a minute ago.
Oh wait, tangent squared x minus sine over cosine
You make
x.
common denominator.
You were here this day?
No, you just wrote it on the board and I copied
You
you.
common denominator. I was
It
thinking
wasn't
common
squared.
denominator.
It's
Oh.
tangent
and
equals
then
sine
the
over
correct
cosine.
one.
Can't you take out a sign?
What is it?
Like, you're here.
I got it.
Wait, I was talking about what you just wrote on the board.
And then take
on
out
the
this
last
sign,
slide.
this sign.
That's an equals, I just didn't.
Oh.
There is no squared on it either.
There's no
I'm
sign
thinking
squared.
you gotta add them together,
Once you
or
add,
subtract them together.
we have to go for common denominator.
So you gotta make it less.
Could you distribute?
Multiply that.
Don't you
I don't
distribute?
know the
Yeah,
opposite things.
maybe.
So it's like sine minus
This is
sine,
gonna-
and then.
You don't know the reciprocals?
That one
Do
is-
you remember this from last chapter?
Sine over
Yeah,
sine
but that
times
wasn't like
cosine
formatted like
minus-
that at all. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. But, yeah, if you remember that stuff though, you'll,
So if you distributed it, it'd become 1 over cosine.
did you guys get this part?
Yeah.
That's where we got.
I
Okay.
got farther than that.
So,
Wait, no, I didn't.
distributive property,
Oh.
when you're multiplying,
Hey, that's what we were doing.
the signs can cancel out, right?
Yeah.
So that would be 1 over cosine. You guys see what I'm doing here? 1 over cosine.
Where's the other one?
This one will be minus sine squared over cosine.
Oh, that's how they cancel out.
Wait, sine
Wait a minute.
Did you do sine times 1?
No, because sine and sine cancel out.
Oh.
Josh, we got the answer. Rachel, stop it.
No.
1
Yeah.
minus
If
squared over cos.
Sine and sine cancel out, why is that sine squared?
This is multiplied on both of these. So when it's multiplied on this one, it cancels out the sine. And then when it's multiplied on this one, it
So is
doesn't.
it just cosine?
No.
Alright.
I could
It's
write,
not-
I could
it's
rewrite
sine-
it as, does that make
It's
sense?
1 minus sine squared.
Like if I did
It's like
3
n
times
plus
1
cosine
third
squared.
Yeah, so it's
Cosine
plus,
squared over
Which is
cosine.
just 2. Right?
1 third
No,
plus
because
x, you
it's
still have to
cosine.
multiply 3 on both of these.
So the
This becomes
That's
just a
right,
1,
that's right.
but this is still 3x.
Mhm.
It gets multiplied twice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, anyways,
And
this is 1 minus sine squared over cosine, right? Yeah, but when you're adding and subtracting, you need a common denominator, which we already had. So it's just that goes together. What is 1 minus sine squared?
Cosine squared.
Cosine squared. 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. So it's cosine squared over cosine, aka cosine.
That did not make me super stressed.
Okay.
That's good. Now, 10 is probably a little bit harder. Why don't you guys give that a go? There's not like, one of the hard things about these problems is they're all a little bit different. You just kind of got to play with it and see what you can do. But the sine cosine trick usually is helpful.
Hmm. Wait.
Wait, what do we do after we change everything to like, one over sine plus one over tan?
What? No, you change it. You can change cotangent to cosine.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, cosine over sine.
And then you do that times sine. Oh, it's not sine squared. It's not sine squared. That's what I did wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Oh wait, so it's 1 plus cosine times
Can I get
1 minus
please?
cosine.
Wait,
So
no,
that's
no.
1
It's one,
plus cosine squared.
cosine plus 1 is over
Did you ever
sine.
get
Yeah,
sick
that's the problem.
feeling?
And so do you guys have cosine plus
Wait,
1 over
wait,
sine
wait.
in one, and then 1 minus cosine in the other?
I mean, when you were gone,
So then-
That's where I'm at.
So then it's 1 plus
Yes.
cosine squared, or 1 minus cosine squared, which is just sine squared.
Yeah, but this cosine squared.
Well, yeah, you do, when you FOIL them.
You can't FOIL.
What,
Yeah, you can.
what'd you do here?
When you FOIL them, the answer you get is 1 plus cosine squared.
Here?
So you do cosine plus 1 over sine times 1, and then times negative cosine?
Well, since they're reciprocals,
Okay,
the middles cancel.
I
out, so you just gotta
noticed
do 1 times
that
1.
these would be really easy to add together
Cosine plus,
because they already have a common denominator. So it would just be 1 plus cosine over sine.
They're not though, because 1 is over sine.
So I'd probably do that. Then I'd multiply by 1 minus cosine.
could you take sine out? If I There's just sine times 1.
What is, it's basically it's 1 plus cosine times 1 minus cosine, and what does that come out to?
Oh, it's just sine. It's cosine.
1 plus cosine times 1 minus cosine. It's a FOIL problem, but when you FOIL conjugates, like they're almost identical, both plus and minus, really you just do the first and the last. So 1 times 1 is 1, and the last is cosine times negative cosine,
Because it's sine.
which is what?
Negative cosine squared.
We get 1 minus over sine.
Over sine.
Which is just sine squared.
Right, that's a sine squared, kind of like this one, but the opposite, right? So that's a sine squared over sine, she didn't really
you know,
Do you understand?
So that's a
I
sign.
can't hear you. Yeah, come on.
Did you guys get
Which
it
one is it?
before I did?
Yes, I did.
Kind of.
Yeah, we did.
Wait, hold up, I'm not done.
I needed a little bit of help, just to like connect the sides. But, I did a little. I needed a
I
bridge.
cannot wait for me to do all the assignments and then come back to this and
You
stuff.
probably better come in. Xander, you can come in. What's your 8th hour?
Jim,
What's your 8th hour?
Foreign language.
Well, okay. If you guys want to come in sometime.
Wait, does that mean you speak Mexican?
8th hour.
No, she's taking.
I
Or,
still need to- you
or
write down all the
Xander after
assignments.
school if you need to. Or,
Can you write down all the assignments on this?
whatever.
Manual labor and just try to figure it out.
Are you in the class?
Okay, we got a couple more.
You don't speak Mexican, or
Doesn't
you
have long enough
I'm using it as a.
Let's do cosine squared equals.
I was asking if you speak Mexican.
Do like
I already figured out.
Huh?
How about 3 more lessons
What is
before I
that?
finish a year?
That's what it is.
Okay, so guys, on this one, the directions are solve for x between 0 and 360 again. So it's kind of like number 1 and 2. But it doesn't just say cosine equals 1/4, it says cosine squared equals 1/4.
Which is sine minus expensive.
No, no, you don't have to do that, no.
I cannot wait for tonight.
Oh, your square root.
Oops, better put some datas in there.
So 3
I'm gonna erase this side more room. Yeah, Rachel, if you have a,
Why did you just erase that? Wasn't that the answer?
no, that was the directions. We have to find all the possible answers between 0 and 360.
Isn't that just 1?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we have cosine squared equals 1/4, we can get, how do we get rid of the square?
Square root.
Square root. When you square root though, it becomes cosine equals plus or minus 1/2. That always happens when you do the square root trick. Okay, so we gotta solve cosine of x equals 1/2 and cosine of x equals negative 1/2.
Is this where we have 4 answers?
Yes.
wait, 4? Oh, wait, because you gotta find it in I gotta find it.
Gotta find, yeah, all the quadrants that works for these. So there's 2 answers for each. Cosine of x equals 1/2. So what's cosine inverse of 1/2?
60.
60. Okay.
Oh, I thought we were doing it in radians, but.
Do we? I don't care.
Cosine inverse, I'll put this right here. Cosine inverse, or sorry, cosine is positive in the 3rd and 4th quadrant.
Wait,
Or sorry, 1st and 4th.
yeah.
Cosine is negative in the 2nd and 3rd. So all 4 quadrants are covered by these 2. So basically, this is our reference angle, it's the 1st quadrant angle. And we gotta find all 3 other angles that have 60 as a reference
Did we
angle.
just plug in cosine or do we cosine inverse?
Cosine
Where'd you get
inverse,
60?
just like number 1.
You
Cosine
didn't-
inverse of 1/2.
You didn't write the inverse, you wrote cosine.
Yeah, I didn't have, I don't have room to write everything. It's the same as like 1 through 4 that we did earlier. Okay, 60 is this angle. This angle is gonna be 180 minus 60, 180 plus 60, and 360 minus 60.
300.
So 180 minus 60 is 120.
I think I got it.
180 plus 60 is 240. And 360 minus 60 is 300.
Mic drop.
Okay, what should we do first on number 12?
Take out a sine.
Move everything to one side. See how this kind of looks like a quadratic formula? It looks kind of like 2x squared equals 3x minus 1.
But wait, where's this, oh, that's square.
There's a square right there.
I just.
So we move everything to one side, factor, and that's what sign should equal. So it's 2x squared, or I could write this with signs too, but I'll change it back to signs. X into a sign later. 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 equals 0. Is everybody following me so far?
Yes, I understand.
Well, that's 1.
Congratulations.
What country is
Rachel, did that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I just changed sine squared into
Great
x
New
squared,
England.
or sine into x basically.
Okay.
And I'm solving this like I would solve a quadratic equation. We could at this point, we got two options at this point. What are my two options?
Factor or,
Quadratic formula or factor?
we're gonna factor because
We're smart.
we're Chads.
Okay, you can use quadratic formula if you want to. So it's 2x and x if you're factoring. And what goes into 1?
Minus 1 and minus 1.
1 and 1, but adds that up to -3 when you do that side and inside.
Yep, it does.
Okay,
So it's, 1/2
x is 1/2
and then 1.
or 1, which means actually x
Theta is 1.
X is sine of theta. So sine of theta equals 1/2 or sine of theta equals 1. Okay,
So you sign inverse then?
so you do sine inverse of 1/2.
You get 30.
You don't remember sine inverse? If you know the ratio, you do sine inverse to find, this was the lesson you were here for.
Yeah, Rachel.
Wait, but this.
You can go backwards and find the angle if you use sine inverse.
Oh, wait, no,
Are we in degrees or radians?
Degrees.
Okay, that's where I was messing with.
Okay. Sine is positive in the first quadrant. Where else is sine positive at?
Second.
Second. How do I find the second quadrant angle?
180 minus 3,
180 minus that.
which is 150.
150. Okay, this one's a little tricky. Well, you can plug in your calculator. Where's sine of theta equal 1/2?
90.
90. Does 90 have a reference angle?
No,
No.
but the opposite is 270.
Okay, at 270, it actually equals -1.
Oh,
So it doesn't have a. It doesn't have
There are
a
only
true.
3 answers or?
There's only 3 answers. This guy only has 1 answer.
And I know no has 3.
Well, normally it has 2, but sine and cosine, if it equals 1 or -1, sometimes they only have 1 answer. If you plugged in your, if you thought, well, the opposite of 90 is 270, but if you plug in sine of 270, your calculator will give you -1 instead of +1. So, I don't know. Sine, it's hard to tell you to have those memorized, but
So like sine 30 equals 1/2 and sine 150 equals 1/2.
yeah, if you plug both of these in for sine, it'll give you 1/2 on both of them. But at 90 degrees, 180, 0, 270, those 4 cardinal directions, sometimes there's only 1 answer. There's only one place where sine can equal 1/2.
X plus or minus.
There's 2 places it can equal
It's
0.
like a double root on? Because 180 minus
No,
90
it's-
and then 0 plus
it's-
90.
Yeah, it doesn't work for 90 and 270. Cosine of 90 is 0, cosine of 270 is 0. Anyway, so if you're not sure whether it has a second answer, just plug it in the calculator, see if they both work. Sometimes 90 and 270 do work, not for sine of 1. Anyway, it's too hard for me to make that simple. Just plug in your calculator if you want to check, see if it works. Okay, that's about as good as I can do.
I think I understood it better.
The reason why is sine is based on the y value, and y is 1 only at 90 degrees. It's -1 at the bottom. It's 0 at 0 and 3, 6, 0 and 180. Anyways.